Hi friends, back on the porch, so hopefully this works. I just didn't want to be inside when everyone's going to be waking up, besides the toddler who already woke up. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to pop on, make sure you have everything that you needed. Oh, I forgot to add that. I wonder if I can edit the description. Probably not, huh? Oh, I can. Yes. Sorry, as I pick this up, you're going to see me grab a journal and pen and your favorite morning beverage. I know that there were a few people that were waiting to pop on, so if you pop on, make sure you say hi. Today we're going to be working a lot out of the book that I was talking about. Oh shit, it's fucking backwards for you guys, sorry. This book, Brene Brown, Rising Strong. I was talking about it the other day, whatever day I went live last. I have a couple of quick things I want to read to you out of it, and then there's some questions. And we're kind of just going to talk about, like I said, what the fuck is wrong with me? That's a question that honestly I ask myself at least 100 times a day, mentally in my head, sometimes out loud. I know that it's a question that I get a lot from clients and potential clients, from my friends. You know, it doesn't have to be moms, but moms really, we are so hard on ourselves. So hard on ourselves. So make sure you say hi when you pop on. Make sure you grab your coffee. My mug is pretty funny. It's backwards, so I'll just read it to you. It says, it's got the RX symbol, and it says Cafe Mocha Valium Vodka Latte. And I don't take Valium or drink a lot of vodka, but this is like mom life right here. Hey, Cajun. Hey, Miranda. Hope you ladies have your journals. We're going to be doing some writing exercises today. Today's going to be like a mini training. I might end up saving this live and uploading it to my YouTube, where I share a lot of these lives so that you don't have to scroll through Facebook to find it, and all of my little truth nuggets are right there in one spot. The sun is rising behind me. Let me know if that gets like awkward or weird or whatever, and I can change the angle. So, yay! How's everyone's morning going? It's quite a morning, right? I woke up at 5 and forced myself to go back to sleep, and then I woke up at 7:15 and was all like, I have to be live in like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm just gonna get up. Yeah, that sunrise is gonna just totally. Let's try that. Love my oh, thank you, darling. I have like total bedhead too, guys. Like, please don't mind me. I normally try to get a little bit more ready, but my whole point for today was, oh no, Cajun, you're always sick. Girl, I swear that last pregnancy, on the balcony, sitting, drinking coffee. Hell yeah, cheers to that, Miranda. I will take a sip with you for that. Awesome. Okay, so since you guys are here, let's get started. So I just want that sunrise to not like totally mess with me. I guess it was out here later the other day. Okay, so this book, I started talking about it the other day. It's called Rising Strong. The author is Brene Brown. She is a shame researcher, and her pioneering work uncovered a profound truth. Vulnerability, the willingness to show up and be seen with no guarantee of outcome, is the only path to more love, belonging, creativity, and joy. Okay? No one else is either, just me. Oh my gosh, Cajun, that's like the worst. I'm so sorry. I hope that you feel better. Hopefully you're drinking some tea and getting better, sleeping. So Brene Brown, I love her. I'm obsessed with her. She, again, is teaching. Sorry, someone's dogs are barking, and I can't tell if my toddler's screaming for me or if it's just the dogs. Sorry if I have to like run away for 2 seconds too, because my husband is still sleeping with the baby, so I'm the only like awake adult. So Brene Brown, she is shamework researcher out of Texas, like I said, and her amazing work really talks about vulnerability. So I'm going to start by reading a quote from her last book. And it talks about the revolution, a wholehearted revolution. So what she really talks about and teaches is how to live a wholehearted life. Actually, let's start with that. In a previous book that she wrote, called The Gifts of Imperfection, she writes the top 3 or the top 10 guideposts, pretty much. 10 guideposts for wholehearted living. I'm just going to read those real quick. We're going to start with that. I'm going to be reading out of this book a lot, guys, because that's what this whole thing is really on. Not a lot, as in I'm not going to read you the book, right? I'm just going to read little parts, then we'll talk about it, and then we're going to do one of the exercises that is in this book too. So, summary of key living, the 10 guideposts for wholehearted living. 1. Cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. 2. Cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. 3. Cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness. 4. Cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. 5. Cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. 6. Cultivating creativity, letting go of comparison. 7. Cultivating play and rest, letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. 8. Cultivating calm and stillness, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. 9. Cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and, quote, supposed to, unquote. Cultivating laughter, or number 10, cultivating laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control. So those are her 10 guideposts for a wholehearted living. That's in her book, Gifts of Imperfection. It's like this big versus this one that's like that thick. Okay, so Gifts of Imperfection is probably like a third of this size because she just goes through each of those 10 guideposts. Yeah, Cajun, you would love her, I think. I think everyone, honestly, I think every mom will love Brene Brown because she's just so relatable. Hi, Heather. Hey, girl. Hey, you didn't miss too much. I know you already know Brene Brown's worth. I just read the top 10 guideposts from the Gifts of Imperfection, and now I'm going to read about the revolution. So she wrote the Gifts of Imperfection in 2010, and then in 2015, she wrote this book, Rising Strong, because she realized that she had been talking about in The Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, some of these other books she's written. It was a lot about why dealing with shame and dealing with vulnerability was so important, but not so much the hows, and especially not like what do you do when you're failing, right? So she starts the book with a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. And let me just grab that quote really quick. See, I knew that there was one quote that I had forgotten to. Okay. It is not the critic. So this is an epigraph for Daring Greatly, is Theodore Roosevelt. Okay, sorry. Theodore Roosevelt's powerful quote from his 1910 Man in the Arena speech. So this is what her book Daring Greatly was all about, and then she wrote this book afterwards because she realized she'd only kind of talked about half of it. So it's a quick quote. It is not the critic who counts, but the man who points out how the strong man stumbles. Or, it is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. So that's what her book Daring Greatly is all about. She uses that quote as a really good basis, and she realized that she spends, a lot of time in the arena. I spend a lot of time in the arena. Each mom, you guys heard me talk about this the other day. Oh, it's my cat. My cat's trying to be let out. Hold on 2 seconds, because he's annoying. Guys, that's like the most unprofessional thing ever, but my cats seriously have like the meow of death, and they will just keep meowing and never stop, so it's fine. So she talks about the arena. The other day I talked to you guys about the arena too, just how everyone's kind of in their own arenas, their own spaces of things you deal with. You know, at work you're in an arena, with your parents you're in a different arena, with your kids you're in a different arena, with your friends you're in a different arena, and then you add all the like crazy other circumstances that happen, like running a business or trying a new project or trying to cultivate a new practice. These all things lead you to being in the arena of different sorts, and sometimes you walk in there and you kick ass and you take names and you're like, what up, I'm the champion. And sometimes you get your ass beat and you're face down in the arena, and you have to get a whole new perspective on life when you're face down, right? So that's what this whole book, Rising Strong, is about, is how to get up. And the reason why I'm doing this live is because of this. She talks about a revolution, and many of you guys know that I am a revolutionary at heart. Political leanings, all of this stuff. I think that a massive revolution is what is necessary. I just hope that it's not a bloody one. So let's read Brene Brown's definition of the wholehearted revolution. A small, quiet, grassroots movement that starts with each of us saying, "My story matters because I matter." A movement where we can take to the streets with our messy, imperfect, wild, savoring happiness is inviting disaster. Revolution might sound a little dramatic, but in this world, choosing authenticity and worthiness is an absolute act of resistance. Choosing to live and love with all our whole hearts is an act of defiance. You're going to confuse, piss off, and terrify lots of people, including yourself. 1 minute you'll pray that the transformation stops, and the next minute you'll pray that it never ends. You'll also wonder how you can feel so brave and so afraid at the same time. At least that's how I feel most of the time. Brave, afraid, and very, very alive. So that's a quote from Brene Brown. And guys, this is what my practice is based on. Okay, this is what I teach the women and men who come to me for coaching. This is what we work on. We work on creating this wholehearted experience and practice so that we can then become warriors in the arena. So in my little brain, because I'm really good at figuring out analogies, I kind of think of this wholehearted revolution as like the war for humanity. What we really need to help instill into every single crevice and crack and cranny of our entire society is this idea of wholeheartedness, those 10 guideposts I read at the very beginning. And I first discovered Brene Brown about a year ago, and honestly, she's changed my life in so many ways. I've read every book. This was actually the last book. I hadn't read this one yet, and I'm actually really upset with myself that I didn't read it until just now, because there were a lot of times this year that I could have used the wisdom in this book about how to fall and get back up. And that's what this whole live is about. What the fuck is wrong with me? Okay, so that's the question that so many people ask, is what the fuck's wrong with me? Why am I like this? Why do I yell? So let's go through the day. You wake up in the morning and you're getting breakfast ready and you spill some of your coffee. What the fuck's wrong with me? Right? It's like an instant, it's not like, the coffee, I spilled the coffee, like it's an inanimate object, it's fine. Sometimes you spill coffee. But a lot of us don't think that way. Oh yeah, Heather, that book is like life-changing. I love it. It says, I have the gifts of imperfection and I need to revisit it. Have you heard the audio of Gifts of Imperfect Parenting? It's audio only. Holy shit. She takes every single one of the guideposts and breaks it down and specifies it to parents. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But it's audio only. It's like a CD, or you can get it on Audible. Anyway, so you're going through your day, you spill your coffee. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with me? So then you clean up your coffee and your toddler comes in and something happens and you yell at him, and then when he leaves the room you say, oh, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I just yelled at a 3-year-old. He doesn't need to be yelled at, he needs to be taught. And you keep going through your day and all these things happen and the first thought is, what the fuck is wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Like, why am I such a screw up? Why is this so hard? Why is everyone else having such a good time? So this is the story that she talks about, that Brene Brown really talks about. We all have our own story. And in Rising Strong, what she's teaching us to do is write what she calls an SFD, so for adults, a shitty first draft, and if you're teaching this idea to children, a stormy first draft. So a perfect example that I can give from my own life is that I recently was decided to leave the bunco group that I was playing with, and I've been playing with them for about 3 years now. And I had decided to leave like back in July. I looked at my schedule for the rest of the year and just was like, you know what, I'd rather be a sub. Trying to make sure I'm here every month is really hard. I already know of a couple of months I'm not going to be here. So I made this decision. And then after the fact, about a month later, one of the girls in the group told me that the group had messaged everyone but me and asked if they would be interested in a non-Karen bunko group. And I was fucking pissed. I was so mad because I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong. I hadn't, that no one had come and talked to me. There had been a situation earlier in the year that I thought had been resolved, and apparently everyone was just a fucking, I don't want to call them anything, but like, to me it's very cowardly to message all sorts of people asking if they want to specifically exclude somebody and not be brave enough to go talk to that person about why they're being excluded. Because if you're like me, you want to know what the fuck is wrong with me. So what is wrong with me that you guys decided that you weren't kicking me out of bunko? I didn't get like told you're not welcome back. They were messaging each other, trying to set it up. Then I happened to post after that message had even like already gone out, was when I said, you guys, I can't do bunko again this year. And then it was like 2 or 3 weeks after I said that, a whole month after they'd been having this conversation, that one of them told me that this was happening. And I still haven't talked to the rest of the group because I'm still rumbling with the question of with my shitty first draft. So my shitty first draft is that I'm unlovable, that I'm unlikable, that I have characteristics about my personality that just doesn't get along with other people. Because it's worse when you start seeing them like post pictures together, right? And you're like, why can't I have that? Why don't I have a group of 3 or 4 girls that I go on vacation with all the time, or that I get to go kayaking with, or you start to create these stories in your head of, what the fuck is wrong with me? What is wrong with me that I'm not good enough, worthy enough to have that experience in my life? Everyone that's popping on, say hi. I'm just in the middle of a intense story about this whole topic, talking about our stories and rumbling with our shitty first drafts. So my shitty first draft, like I said, is that people don't love me, that I'm not worthy of love, that I'm not worthy of friendship, because I have a husband and I've got kids. Like, that's great, but you all know, like, there's some things you can't talk to your husband about. There's some things that you just need a girlfriend for, and I honestly don't have that. There's a few people that I wish I had it with, but every time I try to be vulnerable with them, I either get shut down or they get really uncomfortable because they're not in that same level as I am. So, which is not a judgment on them, but it's really hard to be vulnerable with people who don't have the tools, which is why I'm so passionate about, not just teaching my clients how to do this, but teaching how, like, the whole world how to deal with this. Because if more people had the skills of being able to rumble with someone, like work through these issues with them, then we could have more honest conversations. So here I am dealing with this shitty first draft, that nobody likes me, that I'm not worth being a friend, that I'm somehow intimidating and scary. That comes a lot from my body image issues because I'm 6 feet tall. I've had really big breasts when I was a little girl. I actually had a reduction at 17. It's a whole other story, but like, my body image is a huge problem. So when I'm around a lot of people who are like shorter and stereotypically pretty, or at least how I see them is that way, like they're all a certain height, they're all a certain pant size, they all have a certain like fancy, not even fancy, but like classy way of dressing compared to me and my like, I bought this at the color festival from a straight up Jamaican, guys. Like I am hippie to the hardcore hippie. I shower. That's about, I shower on a regular basis. But besides that, anyone that talks to you know, like, I'm a hippie. I have my own garden. I walk around barefoot. Like, I try to be as hippie as I can in the middle of a suburb, right? So here I am wondering why it is that these women have decided that they are going to not only create a group without me, but not be brave enough to tell me why. Okay? So there are many, many things that I could do, right? I could have called the person that instigated all of this and jumped down her throat and been like, what the fuck, bitch? I was there for you when this happened to you, and I've come and done this, and I've never offended you. I've always helped you clean up. Like, you have no reason to be a total cunt face to me, so what the fuck is going on? And that is totally a version of me, like, 3 years ago. Very brass, very harsh, provoke and confront, get to the bottom of it, down and dirty. I don't care who I hurt to get the answer. I need the answer. Doesn't work, right? Because they either go super defensive or you're literally proving their point. Like, you're fucking freaking out at me. That's why I don't want you around, right? So that could have been one thing I did. I could have messaged my other friend that was in the group that had like originally invited me to go play and been like, so what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this, like, what did I do? What the fuck's wrong with me that you invited me to do? Restart. That's my alarm. Have an alarm going on every day to remind me to check in with my power. Once an hour it goes off. So sorry about that. So I could have messaged my friend who originally invited me and, not the same way I wouldn't have freaked out at her, but I probably would have started crying and really just been like, I'm so hurt. This isn't fair. I didn't do anything wrong. I had already decided to leave Bunko, guys. Like, I need to make this very, very clear to you. I had already made this decision, but then after the fact was told that before I had made it public that I wasn't going to join anymore. They were trying to create a Bunko group without me. And very blatantly so. Like, messaging the person who told me is someone that I can trust, and she's someone that I brought into Bunko, right? And maybe she should have told me right when it happened, and that is neither here nor there, because it makes for a better story for me now to let you know that, like, I was this upset about something I had already decided I didn't want anymore. Does that make sense, guys? Like, I had already decided that I didn't want to play Bunko for this season because it's a yearly commitment. You have to pay if you're a permanent member, whether you're not there. I was already going to be missing 3 or 4 of them, as far as I knew, because of my schedule. Like, I had already made that decision. But I made the decision, didn't tell anyone until this time. And in between these times was when they were starting to try to create a group without me. And I didn't find out until over here, until after I had, like, told everyone. And I was this mad. So mad, because I have this running story of what the fuck is wrong with me in the back of my head constantly. Why is nobody like me? Why am I not worthy of friendship? And especially with friendship, guys, this is a huge trigger for me, which is why I'm sharing it with you, because I know a lot of moms out there, friendship is a trigger for them. For me, it's a really big trigger because I don't have a built-in support system. I don't have, I'm an only child. I'm married to an only child. So we don't have like aunts and uncles and sisters and like all this stuff that we can go to talk about this stuff. So friendship is literally the one piece of my life that from being in preschool being called Crayola Crayon because of the way my name is spelled, all the way till this moment that happened a few weeks ago, I have had issues with friendships and feeling like I was loved, feeling that I was worthy of those friendships, feeling that I was actually included. Because a lot of the times I would feel like the third wheel, or like I said, when I see social media posts of people that I know that are together doing something, it hurts on a whole level that I can't even describe, because I want to know what the fuck is wrong with me that I didn't get invited, especially when it's people that I'm trying to like contact too. So you see a group of 4 women together doing whatever it is, and 2 of those people you personally have been trying to like go get coffee with for over a month, and you're like, wow, what the fuck is wrong with me that you can't even respond to my text messages for a week, that you can't even let me know what your schedule is 2 weeks out so we can try to plan something, but it seems like I check social media pretty often and you're with these specific people, which is fine. Like, you're allowed to have friends. I'm not trying to say like that I'm trying to break up their friendship. Like, I really don't care. Like I said, I already quit Bunko, but it's these feelings that we come, these experiences, which is why this step that I'm trying to teach you, why I told you to grab the journal, is so important, because the shitty first draft is so important. So now that we know what a shitty first draft is, you've written it down. So what you would do is you would take your journal. I hate journaling. My journal, most of my journal things are more like lists that is like really pretty, and anything that I really have to like get out, I will either type it because I've been text messaging for forever, or I will type it like on my computer. So I actually have a whole Google Docs, which is all my like letters, that emails that will never be sent to people, which is a great way to write shitty first drafts. You know, just journal prompts, because once I get going and it really starts flowing, my handwriting gets shitty. I think it's all the medical years, you know, I've had, but I go back to reread it to try to process it, and I'm like, what the fuck is that word? I can't read my own handwriting, because I just get into a flow, and then my brain gets ahead of my hand, and like I'll be reading along, and then I totally obviously like skipped 3 sentences and whatever. So typing is just easier for me. So do it whatever way you want. So you've written your shitty first draft, and now you're gonna come through and you're gonna ask these questions to your shitty first draft. How do we engage in the process with an open heart and an open mind? So, you know, just really, what am I looking at here? What am I really, my handwriting changes when I free write sometimes too, see? Yeah, it happens to me. It gets really gross. What do our SFDs, okay, so what do we need to get curious about? So what do we need to get curious about in my situation is I need to get curious about why I feel all the time that I can't ever cultivate a friendship that's as close as a sisterhood that I see all the time being displayed around me and other conversations I have. Like, nobody calls and checks up on me. Nobody, and I'm not saying this to make people like all of a sudden message me. I don't want my inbox to be filled with people being like, I want to be a friend, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a real life struggle. This is me being vulnerable, me trying to demonstrate a real thing that I'm currently dealing with now, not a rumble I've already dealt with and like gotten past it and all of that. I'm dealing with this right now. I didn't even know what to do with this information, honestly, until this week or the last week when I started reading this book and learned about shitty first drafts and was like, oh my god, this is the most brilliant tool, and I have to tell everyone how to use this tool because it's so brilliant. So what are the stories we're making up about the people? So again, this is what your shitty first draft is going to say. What do our shitty first drafts tell us about our relationship, our communication, our leadership, the culture, what's working, what's not working? Where do we need to rumble? So rumbling is like when you go and you start really looking at your shitty first draft. So your question, you have the what the fuck is wrong with me, and the question you should be asking right afterwards is, what is the story I'm telling? So, what the fuck is wrong with me? Well, the story I'm telling myself is that I'm intimidating, people are scared of me, I'm not worthy of friendship, I've never been able to cultivate a true friendship with anyone that I really trusted who was on my same level. I've never felt that I was actually included. I always felt like I was an extra piece, you know, on and on and on. So those are the stories that you're telling yourself. This is a great tool to use if you are getting in a fight with your husband and he comes home and does something and you're like, okay, stop. So before this turns into an argument, the story I'm telling myself is XYZ, and it can really open that conversation up more instead of being the, well, you're such a fucking asshole and blah, 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 right? It's just it puts the responsibility on yourself because it is how you're feeling. Like, it is the story that you're telling yourself, right? So, the story I'm telling myself is that all these things, that I'm not worthy of having these friendships. So then you keep going through and you think, okay, well then how do I actually like deal with this? Like, what is the delta between the SFD and the new information what lines of inquiry do we need to open to better understand what's really happening and to reality check our conspiracies and confabulations? So everything that I just told you, I'm not worthy, I've never been able to find friendship, blah, 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 all those things, those are conspiracy and confabulations. We have plenty of data. I've got plenty of experiences that I can pull out of my box and tell you to explain to you why I can justify this. But I also know that it's not true because you guys are watching. I have people on here that I know are my friends, even from far, far away. Hi, Jake, that are watching. But this is still an issue that I have to deal with all the time. So then you can sit down and you have your shitty first draft next to you, and maybe you've ripped it out and now you have a new journal page. And you're like, thanks for all the hearts, Heather. So then you have your next journal page and you're like, okay, so the story I'm telling myself is that I'm not worthy of friendship. What is the actual truth here? Like, the truth is I've got all of these friends. The truth is I'm kind of a lone wolf. I look like an extrovert, but I'm a serious introvert. The truth is that I am very specific on the type of person that I allow to share my time. I don't just let anyone into my circle because I'm an empath. It's very, very difficult for me to take on those kinds of energies. So one of the reasons why I decided to quit Bunko to begin with, there was too much, I don't want to say this again, not judging, but there was too much low vibration. When you've been on, and a lot of people have to deal with this, when you're on a spiritual journey, you realize that there are people that you love so much. I miss you too, Jake. Come visit me. Happy birthday the other day. So you have people that you love so, so much, but they are not rising with you. They are staying at this same vibration. You guys heard me talk about this like probably 2 months ago, and I was talking about how women like to bitch, and that's all we do. We get together and we bitch about our lives, and it turns into a whose life is worse event, and it fucking sucks, especially when you are trying to get out of that mindset to go back and put yourself into situations where that's what they're talking about can become really, really, really draining. Even though it's not a judgment on them, you just start to realize that, whenever I get with this group of people, when I go home, I feel like I'm here. But whenever I'm with this group of people, when I get home, I feel like I'm here. Right? So then you start really weeding out the people that are allowed to be within your vibrational field. I love this, writing notes to work through this later. Definitely had friends come and go in my life, and because sometimes friends have come back and other times they just don't, and that's okay. Yeah, it's totally okay. I've had friends that honestly, she's on here right now, someone that I had decided she was not moving up to the same level. And again, it's not that they do anything wrong, it's not that you're judging them, it's really just that you create your own level of standards. And it's like, think about it as like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak or something. Like, you decide to raise your vibration to a certain level that you kind of just start disappearing to other people. And then once they start doing their own work though, and they start realizing, all of a sudden they like vibrate, and then they can see you again, and then you're back together and you're going along the journey. Another good analogy of that is like hiking. I hike in these beautiful Utah mountains. Sometimes you're hiking, you're going along the path, and you have to stop and tie your shoe, right? And you look up and you can't see your friend anywhere, and you're like, what the fuck? She just left me? Really? Like, we're hiking. This isn't safe. And you walk like 50, 10, 20 yards ahead of you, and she's there. She's just like, she rounded a bend before she realized you were tying your shoe, and she's just waiting for you, right? She didn't come back for you because she doesn't want to walk down that hill and walk back up it. She's tired. She's trying to maybe tie her own shoe. But you were just like, wow, that fucking bitch. She just left me, right? So Or maybe you just don't even think about it at all and she just kind of just disappeared and you turn around and you go back. You're like, oh, well, bye. And you don't, that's, those are the friends that never come back. Those are the ones that are like, okay, well, you left me and I'm not going to try to find you, whatever. But most people, if you disappear that way, that you moved on ahead of them, they're going to do whatever they can to catch back up and see where you are. It's, our natural competitive nature as humans to be like, ooh, where did she go? What is she doing? And we do that with sports. You get a new teammate on your team and he's just like kicking every goal, and all of a sudden the rest of your team just like snaps into gear because there's a new level of greatness to achieve. Again, non-judgment. This is not like, I use these terms because I feel like our language hasn't really caught up to the level of transformation that I'm talking about, but it's the best words to use. So here we are talking about our shitty first drafts, and we talk about, okay, now we're going to go through it. And we've gone through it, we've kind of figured out, and then you sit with where I kind of am right now, where you're rumbling through the issues, you see that it's probably not them, it's you. Or it's not you, it's them. However it is. And then you start to learn, what's the difference? What's the delta? If you guys know, it's like a valley, right? Here's my shitty first draft. Here's what I really know. What do I need to do to bridge that gap? And you start create these key learnings. So a key learning for me from all of this is that I need to not be reactionary when I find out that groups of people are hanging out together, because people are totally allowed to hang out with each other and I don't need to be invited to every party. Okay? Another key learning is that people who are going to talk about me behind my back are not worth my time or my vibrational energy. So literally, I'm probably never going to talk about this story again, because talking actually is a huge way to get through your shitty first draft too. This is why having that sacred space, that sacred container is so important, which is again why it's such a trigger for me, because I really have my husband. So whenever something comes up that has to do with my husband, or has to do with our sex life, or has to do with like my own personal womanly issues, he doesn't give a fuck and he has no frame of reference, right? And it's not fair to rumble with someone who the issue is about with them. That's not going to get you anywhere, and that's what we always try to do. We try to go to our husbands or our friends and be like, we got to figure this out together, before you even like have thought of anything that you're going to say or how you're going to do any of it, right? So you figure out that delta, you figure out what you need to do to bridge these thoughts, and then you have the key learnings. So you figure out your key learnings, and then how do we act on these key learnings? So for me, acting on this key learning is going to be knowing I need to write a shitty first draft pretty much all the time. This is something like, I just explained the process. It becomes a practice. It's just like your yoga practice or your mala practice, or eating healthy becomes a practice, exercising becomes a practice, right? No one ever masters rising strong. No one's ever going to become the champion of falling and getting back up again, okay? It's just not how it happens. But the more you practice, the easier it is, so that maybe the little stumbles, you don't fall flat on your face every time. You just kind of stumble and you're able to get back up. And when you do fall flat on your face and your face is marred and bloody with sweat and tears face down in the arena, you now have the tools necessary to start to stand back up again. And honestly, being face down in the arena, you get a lot of good perspective down there if you're brave enough to open your eyes and see what the fuck's going on. So we are going to do a little tiny exercise, because this tiny little exercise that I think is so important is, I just spent the last 20 minutes telling you guys a story about people that are in my life, and it was really one singular ringleader that was brought to my attention, one singular person that, again, I didn't feel like I'd ever done anything wrong to her to invoke this kind of cattiness, to be texting my friends behind my back. Again, I brought like a bunch of people into this bunko group, so for her to message all of them too and be like, hey, we're gonna start a non-Karen bunko group, do you want to join, is like, it's pretty ballsy to do that, right? But at the same time, it's so fucking cowardly, because why didn't you come and talk to me? What is it about me? Again, what the fuck is wrong with me that you're too afraid to come and tell me, hey, so we don't want you in our bunko group anymore. You have, because people, we really want to know. If I'm that intimidating, I mean, there's not a ton I can do about it, but maybe there's some things that I'm just totally unaware are like, my own personality that I do that is highly offensive to people. But I have no idea because no one ever tells me, right? Bye, Felicia. It feels so much like high school. But that's the thing, Heather. It is high school. It's always high school. Like, women's lives, it's fucking high school. My mom is 66 and tells me about shit going on in her 50, her community that's 55 plus. And it's like, wow, ladies, do we just never get past this? And it's all about shame. So it's a shame trigger for me. Like I said, my shame trigger is that I don't fit in to that group. Like I had said before, they're all they look a certain way. Not that they look a certain way, but like, you would walk into my bunko group and you would literally scan the room and be like, what the fuck is she doing here? And you would point at me because I'm taller, I have a more outrageous outfit on, I probably got stoned before I came, don't want to be drinking, I'm talking about Carl Jung and existentialism and all this stuff, and you would be around them and they're just, they're super cute. They've got their awesome designer clothes. They got their hair all done cute. Their nails are all done. They're talking about their awesome new cars and the vacations that they're able to go on and like all this stuff. And you're just like, or at least that's how I see it. Other people would walk in and be like, yeah, she totally belongs here. But I have such a fear around other people, and for 3 fucking years, I felt good again. I don't know what's happening. I'm like losing my signal. Guys, I'm gonna move. See if that works. Sorry. I know some of you are like really wanting to know this stuff. So, what we're gonna do with our journal, real quick, how women can be like this. I found some women who are not like high school, and I treasure those ladies so much. Yeah. Well, Heather, if you wanna, send someone on my way, maybe we could be friends. We live in the same city. Stop. And even then, Heather, I have to add this. There are those that you think aren't like that, and then one thing can completely snap them back into the mean girl. And I say that because of a personal experience that happened to me back in May. I crossed the line between client. I was the client, and I had a coach, and she lived here very nearby. And we kind of were blending the lines because we were becoming such good friends, and so many things were happening. So many things were happening, and then I reached out to her and was really, really mean to her. Like, this isn't fair. You're supposed to be my coach. I need you right now. You're supposed to be my friend. You don't text me back. Like, and really put a lot of expectations on her that resulted in us no longer being friends. We don't even talk. I don't even think we're like on social media together anymore because of this thing. That was something that I did, but she also crossed the line by allowing our friendship to start occurring while I was her client, right? So it was a double-sided boundary that got crossed, but it definitely can take one situation to snap you back into this old framework, because we're living in this patriarchal social worldwide idealism that when a woman decides that she's going to step out of that and step into her own power and claim what is hers, everything in the world is going to try to push her back in and shove her back down into the patriarchy. It's just how it works. It's what's happened for the last 5,000 years. So when two women try to find each other, when they're both strong-willed, sometimes they end up butting heads instead of bringing each other up. That's hard. Boundaries are super hard for so many. Yeah, boundaries are super hard because most women are like swamps. Most women think we have boundaries. We look like we have boundaries on the outside, but as soon as you step on one, it's just like squish, squish, squish. And there's no boundaries, and then you're just stuck in this swamp. So I really want to do this. We're really going to do this journal exercise. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take out your journal. I want you to think We've been talking about really hard issues in our lives and really talking about shitty first drafts and things that, what the fuck is wrong with me. And I want you to write down the name of one person, like I was just talking about. There's one person specifically in this whole situation of my story that was really bothering me about, well, she was the one who started all of this. And it wasn't until I got to this part in Rising Strong that I realized how ridiculous it was for me to even be worried about any of the stuff that I was worried about. It wasn't the shitty first draft, it was this right here. So I want you to think of one person that you either dislike, or they're always causing problems, or they're always causing drama, or they're always needing money, or they're always something. Just, you don't have a very high opinion of them, okay? So I want you to take a second to think of that and write down their name, okay? Let me know when you've done that. Just give me like a heart or whatever. So it shouldn't take that long. It's just someone that when you think about this person, you're like, yeah, they're not the sharpest crayon or sharpest knife on the block or brightest crayon in the box or whatever. Just you hold some judgment on them, which judging them is what it is. So now I want you to look at their name, really imagine them, see them as if they're standing in front of you. And now ask yourself this question. What if that person is doing the absolute best they can? Okay? With everything. With their whole life. You could have written down someone who's a drunk, who takes money from the church to go buy booze. But what if that person is doing the absolute best that they can? And if you are willing to, please write a response while I tell you my response for this. For me, when I look at this person's name, I know it's true that she's doing the best she can. I know that's true because I've seen the pain when she talks in our group, when we are at Bunko. I've seen how hurt she is by some of the things that happen in her life. I see her trying to reach out to those who she does trust, which is obviously really hard for her to do. I know that she also deals with some OCD and things like that as well, so that's a mental disability as far as some some clinicians classify OCD, depends on the level of it, but OCD can really become debilitating for some people. Anxiety, postpartum depression, unexpected medical expenses, all these things that I know have happened in her life since I've at least known her, not including any of the stuff that I, prior to that, but for the 2 or so years that I've known her, I can absolutely say with 100% certainty that she's doing the best she can. But it doesn't make what she did hurt any less, right? And that's the difference. I can treat her with civility. Oh my God, I feel I've asked myself about this person before. It always makes me go, snap. Maybe I need to give her more grace and meet her halfway. Maybe I need to lead by example and not expect her to meet expectations I haven't ever clarified as needs, or give her space knowing none of them are perfect and sometimes life is hard. Yeah, Heather, exactly. See, exactly. That's why the shitty first draft, especially when it's about someone, can really lead to the healing without you ever even needing to talk to them, right? Have literally no desire to message her and be like, hey, so I found out about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a couple of weeks, and I've been really trying to process it, and now I just need to know, what the fuck's wrong with me that you would do that behind my back, okay? Because even as much as 2 days ago, I still had that thought. I still really wanted to know why she would treat me that way behind my back, and why she would be so cowardice as to not come and talk to me to my face about something that bothered her, when it seemed as though prior to this that she and I had a pretty good relationship. I have no idea what it is that led her to send that message to people asking if they wanted a non-Bunko Karen or a non-Karen Bunko group, but I really wanted to know. I'm like an intellectual type person. I need to fucking know everything. Even if I'm calm, cool, and collected, I need to know. And, you know, I might have justified it. You know, like, what do we always say to little girls? Like, oh, they're just jealous of you. They're mean to you because they're jealous of you. I don't want people to be jealous of me. I want people to do what they need to get to a place where they're as happy as I am. My life is not all cupcakes and roses, guys. I tell you this all the time. You know where I'm at in a lot of places financially, with my job, with my kids. I'm very open and honest and vulnerable with you guys because not enough people are. Not enough people are brave enough to get on and talk about 12 people that all are still on there. Like, any one of them could have popped on at this time during any of this. And it would have been a totally different life, probably. But it wouldn't have been, because they would have been on for a reason. They would have needed to hear what I had to say. I believe that every person who catches my lives or watches my replays need to see it for whatever reason it is. So I don't need to reach out to her anymore, because I know that she's doing the best she can. And in that moment, obviously she was hurt, but that moment was also the beginning of August. And it's now the middle of September, near the end of September. That moment was after our last bunko in July, after she had gotten drunk, and I was being pretty quiet because I was really trying to take in and really trying to decide whether or not I wanted to continue coming because of the vibration, like what I was talking about. Just really trying to listen, and I could have engaged in those conversations and tried to turn them around into a positive note instead of just sitting there in silence. And I was probably judging them, you know. I was trying to be the outside observer, but I was a part of that group, right? So it's really hard for me. Hey, McCall, you're catching me at the end, girl. You're gonna have to replay. You know, I could have been much more. I love my bracelet. Look, I made a mala to match it. Sorry, I made this, guys. I love it. But yes, I did get it just to match my beautiful bracelet that McCall got me. Sea glass, lava rocks from Maui. I have some good friends. I got some awesome friends. Which is why these triggers are so important for you to figure out what they are, because it takes things like Heather being on here, you know, we need to reconnect. McCall popping on right at the very end. Jake popped on. Jake never watches my lives, you know. Other people that were on here earlier that really remind me that I am supported, that I don't need to have a photo of me on social media to know that I have friends, because I'm more of that people who don't, I would rather not have a picture at the end of the day, and maybe only have the picture of the food because we were so wrapped up in each other that we forgot to take a picture. Okay, that's just the type of person I am. You might have noticed I'm not posting as much on social media because I'm really trying to be more present and connected in the moment, and not so much, oh, hold on, let me take a picture. I need to post this. I need to let the whole world know that I'm having a good time. Because I can tell you, when I used to post the most was when I was the unhappiest. When I used to try to let people see only what I wanted them to see was when I was the absolute most miserable. Versus now, getting together with you guys on a Sunday morning, having coffee, doing a little journal work, talking about Brene Brown, telling you guys a really scary story that is public, that anyone could see, that anyone can still see. It's going to be on a replay, right? But knowing that it's that important, because this is something that we all deal with. Having that question, what the fuck is wrong with me, should always be followed with, well, the story I'm telling myself is. And fill it in. Because you might find yourself being ridiculous. We'll go back to the coffee, right? You spill your coffee first thing in the morning. What the fuck is wrong with me? Well, the story I'm telling myself is that I'm a fucking moron who doesn't even know how to pour some coffee, and now I have to clean it all up because I'm a fucking slob. And you'll start listening to yourself, and if you're like me, you'll start laughing, and you'll be like, damn, Shadow, like, you are really trained to be reactive, aren't you? Like, you are right there telling me everything that's wrong with me, aren't you? You're just ready. You're just ready and willing to jump right up. But the more I do that, the more I laugh. And shadows don't like laughter, because laughter is of the light. Because then you start hearing yourself and you're like, I'm fucking ridiculous. I'm the most ridiculous person right now. I'm not a total fuck up because I spilled coffee. I'm tired as shit and I need my coffee and I spilled it. Or I'm not totally unlovable. I have people who've been watching my life. I have people who are texting me. I have people who I have plans with later today. Like my schedule, I usually like having a day or two off. Like the story I'm telling myself when I see these things on social media is that I'm not lovable enough to be invited. But what I should be telling myself or reminding myself is that I have impeccable standards as to who is allowed within my vibrational ring. You know, maybe I should be that person that goes through and like does a little bit more of a house cleaning on my social media. And if somebody's post sparks me like that, then unfriend them, unfollow them. You know, you don't need to allow that energy into your field. So if a certain person's post trigger you, or a certain group of people trigger you, or a certain place that you go triggers you, you are under no obligation to be friends with that person or go to that event or do that thing, because you're a sovereign human, a sovereign being. You are a fucking queen and king of your own realm, which is the reality in which you are currently living. Because your truth is different than my truth, is different than her truth, is different than his truth. They're very fundamental things that we believe in, right? Like gravity. Gravity is kind of a natural law and truthful, you know, my pen's gonna drop. But besides gravity and some other things like needing oxygen to breathe, your truth is different than my truth, is different than her truth, is different from his truth. So setting boundaries, having those conversations that are fucking hard, but not having them from a place of negativity. You need to go through this whole process. Like I said, a week ago, I still wanted to talk to her. When I first found out, I wanted to go to her house because I know where she lives and friggin' bitch slap a little bitch and tell her exactly where she could put her dumb ass, right? Because I was pissed. I was so fired up. And now going through this process of rising strong, I can know that she's doing the absolute best that she's doing. I'm doing the best that I can, and we're not matching vibrationally right now, and that's totally okay. You know, it's, you know, we're not dancing together. We keep missing each other. And maybe at one point we're going to sync again, or maybe she's just, you know, a note in a melody of my life that is over. It sustained itself for 2 years or so, and now it's done, and that's fine, because we all have new experiences to go through. So I'm going to end with a quote. I left my book over there when I changed positions, though. So give me 2 seconds, and we're going to end with a quote. I hope this was really useful. If you guys have any comments or questions, type them out real quick while I go grab the book. Sorry. All right, so we're going to end with one last quote. Actually, 2 quotes. First, I'm going to read you the quote on the back because it's just so good. The irony is that we attempt to disown our difficult stories to appear more whole or acceptable, but our wholeness, even our wholeheartedness, actually depends on the integration of all our experiences, including the falls. Love all of this. Great perspective. Yes, and you can always just hide someone for a while and see if you jive later down the line if you're not ready to unfriend. Yeah, exactly. Unfollow is seriously the best option, especially if someone's dealing with something that you're like, I really want to be there for you, but you fucking did it to yourself and I can't handle you bitching about it anymore because I've already told you my opinion. So if they're like bringing you down, like unfollow is a beautiful thing because you can go back and refollow them and they have no idea. I know that that's a bigger issue with people when it's like a family situation, but I definitely have people that I've unfollowed that I don't think they have any clue that I unfollowed them. So our final quote for the day is the final quote from the book, which is a manifesto of the brave and brokenhearted. I'm really sorry if I cry during this, guys, because it's really powerful and beautiful. I'm not sorry if I cry, actually, but just a warning, I might cry. So the very last page, it's the very last page of her book, of Rising Strong. Manifesto of the brave and brokenhearted. There is no greater threat to the critics and cynics and fearmongers than those of us who are willing to fall because we have learned how to rise. With skinned knees and bruised hearts, we choose owning our stories of struggle over hiding, over hustling, over pretending. When we deny our stories, they define us. When we run from struggle, we are never free. So we turn towards truth and look it in the eye. We will not be characters in our stories, not villains, not victims, not even heroes. We are the authors of our lives. We write our own daring endings. We craft love from heartbreak, compassion from shame, grace from disappointment, courage from failure. Showing up is our power. Story is our home. Truth is our song. We are the brave and broken-hearted. We are rising strong. So, that is the end. Thank you, Heather, for staying with me all the way to the end. Thank you, everyone who did join me, everyone who caught the replay. Just thank you so much for allowing me to have this space to process all of this. I feel so much better and lighter, and I already felt pretty fucking good about it before I did this live. So, thank you all for being here with me this beautiful Sunday morning. We are going to get ready for our worship services. We just started going back to the church I went to as a child, or Ryan and I both went to as a child, the Unitarian Church down the road, because we're trying to build more community and build more friendships with people that have the same beliefs and standards as us, which I know it's a hard issue for a lot of people who are parents. You get to that point where you're like, maybe we should go back to church. So, thank you again. Thank you, Heather. I love you. Let's get coffee. I will talk to you all later. Thank you. I love you all. Have a great, great Sunday morning. If any of you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to work with me one-on-one, if you're trying to get into my Mom Bot Reboot, all of these things are still open. I would love to help any one of you guys who are dealing with these issues really get specific on what we can do to help you and really shift you so that you can create a rising strong practice and not just use the process that I just taught you, because it's kind of a crazy video, right? So anyway, I love you all. Cheers. Have a great Sunday.